Welcome to episode 33 of Venti Questions, the show with friends, coffee, and conversation. My name's Michael.
And I'm Chris, and today we're talking about art versus artist. Right. Art is a reflection of the artist, but should the artist's personal life and behavior affect how we appreciate their work? All right. On today's episode, we'll be exploring the complex relationship between art and the artist and sharing our opinions on whether we should separate the two.
Yeah, so make sure you listen all the way to the end to find out what we think about the really important subjects, like R. Kelly and Michael Jackson.
Oh, yikes. Shots fired. Michael, what's new with you?
Oh, not that much, bro. It's been one of those weeks where it's like, you only get little snidbits of free time to do stuff. But I don't know. I have a couple of like updates on things.
Okay.
So I know we talked about the Blood Bowl 3 game.
Oh, yeah.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then before that a couple weeks. And then before that a couple weeks. So the ongoing issue is with their over monetization of their customizable aspects of the game.
We're talking about that.
Yeah. So they kowtowed. They now have released a statement saying, "Hey, our bad." So they're going to go ahead and make it so that when you unlock a particular piece of gear, that it will be unlocked permanently for that particular position, for that particular faction, instead of it just being a one-time use item. They're also going to go ahead and anyone who has purchased any, they're going to go ahead and refund you.
Wow.
100%. They also so far have, if you got the brutal edition, right, which is like the special edition one that was like $50, you were supposed to get 1,000 of their currency, which is warpstone. You're actually now, at this point, we're at 2,500 that they've given us, just for like, hush money. And then
Hush money.
Yeah. And then also, the first blood pass, like their season pass thing that's supposed to start in May, is now going to be given to everybody for free.
They're like giving it all away.
They are giving away everything.
That's strange.
Well, it's kind of like what we were talking about before, where it's like, because it is a smaller community, it's a bigger deal if people go like, "Peace, bro," because they don't have as many people to fall back onto.
Sure.
And the majority of the community was like, "We'll play the old game.
Right. Okay.
We don't have any problems with that." And because we already bought it, you won't see any more money from that. There's no microtransactions in that game.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so that was cool. Another little random tidbit is I started listening to The Inheritance Cycle in Audible. I've never listened to it before. Bittersweet. It's awesome to be able to do the book again. It's been like 15 years since I read it,
Yeah.
which is crazy when you think about it. It's like, oh my gosh, it really has been legitimately like 15 years. But the biggest issue is that the narrator, bless his little heart, couple of the voices, pretty cool. Some of them I'm not too sure of. I don't know.
You don't like the dragon is what you were telling me.
Yeah. So the biggest problem is that in the actual text, the way they describe the dragon's voice is like a soft rumbling and scraping of rocks.
Okay.
Which they do. But it kind of sounds like
someone with a sore throat.
It sounds like Fozzie Bear with a sore throat.
Yeah, okay.
And like legitimately. Like, I'm not trying to be funny. Like, it sounds like it's one of the Muppets. I can't really point down which one it is.
It's a Muppet.
It's one of the freaking Muppets. And it's supposed to be a female dragon. And I don't have a problem with a female that has like a very strong masculine voice, or even a male that has a very feminine voice as well. But
I mean, the problem is it's the narrator who's doing it. It's the same person who reads every other part, I'm assuming. So it's just that voice, but in a sore throat,
in a sense,
kind of thing. Right?
Yeah. And what's so frustrating is that like there's so many narrators that do such a great job of doing both genders.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy's the same way. There's one of the main characters, which is Arya, and she only has had like 4 lines so far in the book, because she's unconscious almost the entire first book. And but sounds great.
Right. There's no attempt here to make it a female sounding dragon. Not that they had to, but there just wasn't an attempt to.
Yeah,
you would never know.
It sounds just very harsh, and I guess the reason why it bothers me is because my very first introduction to these characters in this world was through the movie. I didn't know it was a book.
Oh, that's right.
And guess what? Didn't sound like this.
Yeah.
The dragon talks, my dude, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it did not sound like this the whole time.
Right.
That's what the voice sounds like.
Wow.
Yeah. Makes you really go, oh, wow, she's a beautiful dragon.
It's pretty dragon.
Oh. But no, it's this first book is like a 16-hour book, and I got it yesterday, and I have like 3.5 hours left. So I've been power through them.
Cool.
Just because it's been so long, and we had talked about that particular series like a month or so ago, and so it was just somehow it got triggered in my brain, and I was like, oh, that'd be fun to listen to.
I might read it.
So
I might do that.
yeah, it's a fun one. So
yeah.
But other than that, I don't really have much else. Like I said, I've just been kind of dip-dobbing and diving. So what's new with you?
So I'm almost done with an audiobook I have been listening to. It's called The Evolution of God. It's interesting. It's more just kind of like a history of how religion evolved over time from, the earliest religions recorded to, the Egyptian religions and the polytheism, and then getting into more some of those Egyptian gods being more like monotheistic, worship and such, and then the Abrahamic religions, your Judaism, your Hebrew Bible, Talmud, and all that, and then into your how that evolved into the Christianity, and then how that evolved into Islam. Mm-hmm. So I'm not done with it yet. About maybe 2 hours left because it's an audio, right? And now it's just kind of looking at how people view these religions and even like Islam and all that, and how people view different cultures with prejudice based upon belief systems and so on and so forth. And it's, interesting kind of study on that, but really just kind of having that background in history on how it all came about and how God was viewed. And because that's the thing, does God change, or does the way we view God change over history? Because people say, oh, God, he was a, jealous God back then, and he did all these. Well, that's because that's how he was then, because that's how it was then, and that's how people were then. That's how people saw God then. And then things changed, agendas changed. The landscape changed, political landscape changed. People had to get along, and population expanded, and due to that, cities grew, and then people had to kind of get along in some way. So God became less of a, well, here's your tribe, these separate tribes and so on. It's more like, well, everyone can have it now kind of thing, more of an inclusive, because or else you'll just be warring all the time. You needed to trade, you needed to have resources, get along. So it kind of just phased. It was interesting because one of the examples is, in context is the, love thy neighbor, right? And how that was probably originally interpreted by the people in that time was, it's love thy neighbor, but what they meant by it is people who were in your same faith, in your same town, in your same, right? You're supposed to love your neighbor, but not the neighboring religion and neighboring tribe. You weren't supposed to do that then. But it kind of turned into more of an inclusive thing where now it's like neighbor. Oh, everybody got brought into it, not just the people in your town. So I thought that's interesting. They were kind of explaining that and how it came to be. And, the words of Jesus, earlier words of Jesus, like in Mark, which is the people were probably still alive who were around when Jesus was there, around when the book of Mark was written. So it was actually a very kind of linear book, and things were expanded upon because it's only probably 30 years after Death of Christ it was written. And then you have, Matthew, Luke, John, that was all written like 70, 75, 60 years after, where everyone's already dead and they can just like, yeah. And he also said this kind of, and that at least that's how the book was kind of explaining it, where there were certain embellishments. Paul was embellishing certain things to bring it Christianity as the minority religion to be liked and to be accepted by larger groups, because they're accepting people into that faith. So they couldn't be so exclusive and like, no, this is ours, this is the way it is. They had to try to expand and grow, or else it would just die out completely. So it was really interesting kind of how it evolved, that way, at least how the book's explaining it. So that was one of the things I was getting into. And then, so not too shabby. It's going okay. Yeah. So we'll see how it will. I think I know how it ends, but, but in 2 hours left, I'll let you know.
Yeah. It's always a bittersweet thing when you get a good book and you're in like the home stretch, because it's just like, it's going to wrap up pretty well, even if it's not like a a fiction. If it's a nonfiction, it's still like, a good author wants you to end on a high note and like, haha, give me a couple of questions to think about.
Right.
But then it's like, oh, but it's over.
Right. So tell me more about the thing I was trying to learn about.
Come on, where's the next episode? Yeah, so it can be a little bittersweet.
Yeah.
Speaking of bittersweet, let's talk about what we're drinking tonight, Chris.
Well, it's kind of a joke, but
you're such a So tonight we are having another sampling from Comics on Coffee.
Yeah.
This time it's The Joker Blueberry Blast.
Blueberry Blast. It's definitely blueberry.
So, the short version. Not recommended. Black.
No, it's
pretty. It's pretty chemically.
Yeah.
With cream and sugar, it's actually pretty decent. I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
As we were saying in our coffee tasting for it, though, is that it's kind of more of a breakfast coffee.
Yeah.
I would probably recommend having some sort of like bacon or sausage or something like that with it, or like pancakes, something with syrup.
We talk about pancakes or waffles. Like this would be a good.
Yeah, something where you're either getting like that savory or the sweet. Like eggs, yeah, sure. But like, I feel like if you have more sweet, good. And if you have like a good savory, good.
You need a good like bread consistency.
Oh, I think the bread is very important.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's good. Drinking it black, as Mike said, we compared it to the Acme acid that Joker falls into.
Yeah, well, it was not tasty. It has like a slight medicine medicinal
you said it was like
flavor.
Dimetapp, essentially. Yeah.
Wasn't very tasty. But our overall score for when it was with cream and sugar was a 74, which is it's in that small group right now where it's like there's 3 or 4 ones that have just been really good. And this is the second Comics on coffee that is in that group.
Yeah, it's true.
So that's actually pretty good. Like I said, that we did not like the Dark Knight one.
No.
I think it's just because they were trying to make it as dark as possible, and they just like overshot. There just wasn't enough flavor. But yeah, like I said, this one is Comics on Coffee. It's from Fort Myers, Florida. The actual type of coffee for this one is a flavored coffee. The only thing that was a little weird is you were the one that ground it because we did the whole beans like usual.
Yeah.
And you were saying that you picked up a couple of them and they were a little tacky.
Yeah, there was like a coating over the actual coffee beans.
So that's a little weird, but I'm sure that's just,
I think that's how all the flavored ones probably are.
It's hot, and we probably just didn't notice it before we touched other ones or whatnot. So
yeah.
But yeah, so overall, not bad. We recommend.
Yeah.
I do have some fun little questions for you, though, Christopher.
Oh, I love questions.
Okay, so
how many? Venti of them.
I have a whole crap ton, but not all of them are very good. So we're gonna cherry pick.
All right.
Beans that today we're talking about art versus artists. I have some fun ones in that regard.
Okay.
So, would you rather listen to music from an artist you dislike as a person or from an artist you've never heard of?
Never heard of.
Okay. I agree.
I don't know a lot of them as people, but what I think they're like as people.
I would say that let's go ahead and just assume that that's the question moving forward, because there's going to be a lot of those like as a person.
You hear them on interviews and you're like, I don't like this person, right?
Yeah. I will agree with you on that one as well, but there again, not necessarily because I don't want to listen to somebody I don't like. It's just because I like listening to new people. Just in general,
of course.
That one's just a little different for me.
Everyone likes finding a diamond in the rough, you know?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I just like hearing different things in general, especially if they're bad too, because it's just like, it's interesting to hear what somebody thinks is good.
Right.
It kind of readjusts the way you think of things a little bit.
It's true.
Sorry, they're not in the perfect order, so I apologize. Okay. Would you rather watch a movie directed by somebody you dislike or starring somebody you dislike?
Directed, because that happens a lot.
Yeah. It's like, do you want to watch Mel Gibson on screen or do you want Mel Gibson to be the one behind the camera?
I like both actually, but
there was a time frame when the majority of the world was definitely not going to look at one of those.
Well, he said some pretty racist things.
He's getting back in front of it, though.
He's getting back in front of it.
It's not too bad.
I guess as far as racists go, but
no, I meant like his acting.
Oh, his acting.
Oh, I see. And he's one of those people that like I absolutely do not like him as a human being, but if he has a good movie, I'm going to watch it.
Sure,
it's a good movie,
right? Right.
And he's a great director.
But like James Cameron, right? Like I don't care for his opinion on most things in life, but I do think he makes some good movies. I'm sorry, like
I don't know what his personal opinions are on anything.
Yeah,
but I think he's just a very pretentious douche.
Yeah,
that's how he comes across, just in talking in general.
Right.
But he can make some amazing advancements in technology.
What I will say he did right was I saw this thing on the tube. There was behind the scenes where he did this whole thing and put money into figuring out if Jack could actually sit with Rose on the door and survive.
Really?
And they did it, and there is a chance that he could have, but under specific circumstances. But they
very
interesting. Yeah, they did it with actors, with people in, and they doing all the same stuff, and they tried to make. And he said, yeah, it's possible, but it had to be a very particular set of circumstances for it to happen. But he said it was possible. So there you go. He that was one of the biggest controversies back in the time. Like, why couldn't they just both fit on the door? Do you remember that? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I remember hearing about it.
So then he's like, yeah, I guess we could have done that. So, would have made a good movie, but
That is really funny.
Yeah.
Would you rather watch a movie with controversial content or a movie directed by someone with a controversial past?
I mean, that's a weird one. Because
Can I give you an example?
Yeah, give me an example.
Cool. Would you rather watch a movie starring Chris Brown, and it's like a dance movie,
Okay.
or watch a movie about a guy beating his significant
Same thing, isn't it? Sorry.
That's the question, Chris.
It's the same thing.
Welcome to the episode.
I get it. I'd rather watch the movie with the dance, and even though this guy's probably an ass, I don't care.
I'm in the same camp. Especially, and this is totally off topic, but in my opinion, a lot of movies that are made about controversial subjects are very heavy-handed, and a lot of times they're not very good.
Yeah.
Because they're so full of an agenda, they're not full of good writing and or acting.
Yeah, the point of them is to, evoke a reaction.
They're there for that particular thing, and that's their main point. And that's fine. It's just not my cup of tea. That's all.
Sure.
Sorry, I do apologize. Like I said, they're not in the best order. Do you think that once an artist who has apologized for their past behavior, that it is okay to support them again?
Yeah, I do.
Can I go ahead and add a little emphasis? Someone who has apologized and it appears that they're actually like sincere, like they're actually like, making, because it's not like oh, sorry. It's not one of those.
I think it depends on how they handle the situation. Mm-hmm. People make mistakes. Anyone can make a mistake.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's what they do after that. And the best example, and you named it already, is like Mel Gibson, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He didn't handle things very well in the aftermath of that. He kind of just doubled down.
He made it worse.
Yeah. And then even with like in interviews and stuff, when people are trying to bring it up, when he's trying to get back on the circuit and and like, then he gets like completely defensive and is an ass all over again. It's like, hey, like, why don't you just like turn the other cheek? Like, like what your guy says to do. So he did direct The Passion of Christ. He's an avid Catholic.
That was uncalled for.
Has built Catholic churches, and he does not act in accordance to the thing that he says he believes. So
he's a Christian.
He's a hypocrite. So yeah, I get it. So,
check.
Jeez.
Just checking.
Not all of them, but there's a large majority. And he happens to be one of them. So unfortunately, and mind you, I like his art. His art is awesome. It's just the way he carries himself, right, and the way he's handled stuff. And I'm sure he's got his demons and whatnot, but still, like, I am less likely to then, hey, let's go see what he's doing, right? It's like, I don't want to deal with that.
No, I mean, I understand that, and I think that, to your point, it does kind of depend on the situation. Because somebody who's giving a half-hearted apology, I'm kind of like, whatever. But I think I'm a little bit more onto the side of the fence than a lot of people, where it's like, I don't have an issue separating.
Yeah.
So
I think there has to be a little bit of time that goes by for emotions to kind of go by, and for them to process really the consequences of their actions. And then from there, hey, you've had your time. Fine. Cool. We're good. Give it a year or two. Done. Like, fine. Well, it's like,
we'll finish up with this and we'll get into the actual topic itself, because I think this is kind of like a good
segue.
Thing,
right? Yeah.
Is there are plenty of, we'll use like actors in this case.
Sure.
There's plenty of actors that for no real reason, I freaking hate. I just don't like them.
That's because they're probably disingenuine human beings. I'm going to generalize because their job is to not be themselves.
Let me give you a perfect example that you know exactly who I'm probably going to bring up.
Okay.
I hated Brittany Murphy and her acting in every single role. And she was the it girl for like a good, 5-year period.
Sure.
And it was during a time frame where you didn't really see a lot of like interviews and behind the scenes like you would nowadays,
Okay.
And so it was nothing against her, really her as a human being. I'm sure she was a lovely person. But as far as her being in a movie, I'm like,
sure.
Immediately. But there again, I've also had actors and actresses like that where I like them, but if they're in a particular movie and they suck in it, they suck in it, or vice versa. I don't necessarily have a big
I thought she was good in 8 Mile because I believed that character.
Well, that's because she was.
I'm just saying, I believe she did that well.
I'll have to stop because I shouldn't say some of those words right now. But yes, but it also I wanted her to like catch something and die from it because
Character did.
Yeah, so it makes sense. Deserved. Anyway, so as far as the separation between the actual art and the artist goes, just in a general, very broad statement, do you feel that those two things should be separate? I will start by saying yes.
Okay.
I do think that there's different degrees of ease with that.
I will say it depends, and this might be a little more divisive here, but it depends on the art. And I say that because there is reclusive produced art where it's more, it's being created in a silo. And then there's art that is where you're expressing personality and you're on stage, right? And the person's personality is part of that art, right?
Okay.
So like an actor, for instance, I think that's the best example is that's them. You're buying into them and how they're portraying themselves and who they are, and right? Versus a painter, whereas they're putting it on a canvas. You're not having to hear them speak. They're not representing themselves in any other way except for this is the art that they're creating, and that's doing all the speaking and the work and all that. So they don't come across as disingenuine, right? Because let's say using Mel Gibson is he can be in Lethal Weapon and you see him with Danny Glover and like they're best friends, like they're close or this, and then you hear the audio recordings of the stuff that was said and you're like, wow, that you just, now all you're doing is wondering like, was he just racist the whole time? Like to the face, and it does take away from the genuineness of that character a little bit, perhaps, right? So I think I'm not saying I'm not going to still enjoy those movies and Lethal Weapon movies and all that stuff. What I'm saying is the thought enters my mind, and it doesn't if I'm looking at a painting and I'm like, yeah, when he was doing this, he was probably doing that inappropriate thing that we all know about now. Like I'm not thinking the same thing because I'm not seeing their face. I'm not seeing them act. I'm not seeing them be someone who we really know who they are, right? Because that came out. So they don't have that opportunity. There's not that duality there, I guess you can say. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's more difficult. So that's why I say I think there's a sliding scale and it depends on the type of art. If you're expressing using your voice or using, your appearance and whatnot, it's harder to separate than it is another type of art, like illustrated art or something like that.
I agree and disagree, like always. The example for like actual like traditional like drawing, painting, sculpting,
drawing.
I agree with you 100% on that.
Sure.
Like I've seen some of Hitler's art pieces. Not a fan of him.
Sure.
Not the best guy.
No.
But pretty decent art.
Yeah.
And I can respect the art as a separate entity and be like, this person had skill. This person did this well.
Right.
Somebody who's anti-Semitic, if they draw a building, as long as there's not a swastika on the building, you're not going to know they were anti-Semitic based upon the building.
That's what I mean.
And I understand that aspect. And that part I agree with.
Right.
The part I disagree with is I would actually say the actor, if they're a good actor, the whole point of being an actor is portraying somebody else other than yourself.
Sure.
So therefore, a good actor would not show any of their own personal aspects of anything in their work. A good actor. But I feel like a musician, they're writing their own material based upon their own lives and beliefs. I feel like they are the ones that are probably going to be the most exposed,
sure,
if you will.
Yeah.
Along with probably comedians.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Same type of thought process.
Right. Yeah.
But like I said, like I agree, especially when it comes to like is it considered traditional art? Is that what you would consider? Like,
sure. Yeah. Let's call it that.
Yeah, let's call it that. To make it, I 100% agree with that. Because in researching this, I found out so many crazy things about some of the old school artists.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of the Ninja Turtles is canceled. I had no idea.
Yeah, exactly.
But there again, I don't really care about a lot of that kind of stuff. Like, who's allowed to be looked at as good and bad today versus tomorrow versus last week? I think it's just like annoying. So I don't really partake in that too much.
I think it depends on how good they are at their art too, and I know that's going to be controversial because it's.
I agree.
I think people get passes because of the impact that their art had. Like for instance, I don't care for comic strips, and the guy who did Gilbert, right?
Yeah.
All that. He just got canceled essentially.
No.
Yeah, because
You're talking about Dilbert?
Dilbert, sorry. Yeah, I don't know the name.
Okay. I was saying no. That's what I had. Almost every one of the Dilbert books.
Yeah. So basically,
what did he do?
He made some comments. I think it was on social media because it's always on social media.
Social media.
Or was quoted somewhere talking about, well, listen, black people don't like us. He named some statistics about black people not liking white people and said, well, then why do I want to be around them? And so that's why I live in a white neighborhood, and he went down that path of like, yeah, they don't like us, so why should I like, and he was very vocal about that, and he's very like, pro-Trump type language in speech. So it was, yes. And now no one's picking him up. He's canceled on, all these newspapers, all that kind of stuff. And he's like, he doesn't need the money. So he got to the point, and he said, I guess he said that too. He's like, yeah, I got to the point where like I could retire. I'm good. I don't need it. So I can say these things.
Which sadly is the truth.
Yeah.
A lot of times in the world currently, unless you are capable of being 100% self-sufficient, you really can't say what you really want to say a lot of times.
You pay for it.
Yeah.
One way or another.
One way or another. So. We had the conversation the other day when we were talking about social media and like, holding a job.
Yeah.
Can't always say what you want to say because you have to make that decision of, hey, legally I can say whatever I want to say.
Yep.
But there may be repercussions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So no, I get that aspect. That's sad though. Sucks.
Yeah.
Dilbert was such a stupid, awesome freaking comic strip. Yeah, well, that's what it is.
There you go.
I haven't read one, by the way, in like 20 years.
Yeah, of course.
But when I was a kid, I remember like Columbia House. And it was like,
oh yeah,
pick 10 books for a penny each, that kind of crap. I had like all the Calvin and Hobbes books, all the Peanut books. Yeah. I had all the Dilbert books.
Yeah,
those were like my guys.
Calvin and Hobbes is good. Yeah,
remember Ziggy?
I don't remember Ziggy.
He was like a little like a a fat looking like dude with a big nose.
Trying to remember.
I don't think he even talked. I think like everybody else talked. I don't know. Anyway, it's from a different time.
With actors, though, it is interesting because, you know, I'm going to be 100% wrong probably, but this is my opinion.
Can't be wrong.
My opinion is most of them got to where they are, and they are in the position they are because they're willing to do things, and they have done things, and they're beyond what we would consider the day-to-day norm and like what we experience as normal people when it comes to parties they go to and people that are around. They don't live in the same world. So they're doing things that, if we're going to judge them on any moral scale, if that's what we're talking about here, they're all probably guilty or had been guilty or been involved in something that they're like, they were at least at that party, you know, where that thing happened. Or,
the only agreed counter argument, I think that's actually everyone.
Could be everybody. Yeah.
There have been times where I have found myself in a situation where I'm like, I don't think I should be here.
Of course.
And you go like, oh man, sorry, I just got a text. I got to bounce. Yeah, so-and-so need me to pick up on the way home.
I was speaking more participating in, but like.
No, I just meant in general. I feel like there's always like I truly believe that no matter who you are, if you take a good, solid, like 20-minute Zen break and just reflect on your life, you will be able to find something that you have done.
Absolutely.
And or said that 100%, if you were somebody important in life and that was revealed, you would be canceled for it.
Right. If
every single I know some for you, and I know you know some for me. That's just the way it works.
If the pearly gates open at the end of it all, and we are judged by our sins or transgressions or actions, whatever it is, and we have to list it out, and there's that book, and they're all on there. Like, yeah,
nobody's going in with a blank page.
Nobody can't. I think that's the point of what religion was trying. That religion, as we're talking about, is trying to make, is like, no one's perfect,
right? And that's the whole thing of it, is that
that's why you need Jesus.
Well, that's a different episode we already had. Let's go ahead and take it then by like the art, the different styles, right? So let's get rid of the elephant in the room first, right? Music. We have people like Michael Jackson and R. Kelly.
Yeah.
Chris Brown.
I don't put them all in the same category.
Well, I put them in the same grouping, even though they're for different reasons, only because of the fallout.
Okay.
Right? So you have one, which is Michael Jackson, who everybody has a different opinion on. Right?
Okay.
You have one, R. Kelly, where everybody's like, oh yeah, no, because he's been like proven guilty and is in jail and all that kind of stuff.
No one's standing up for that.
No one's standing up for him. And then you have Chris Brown, where it's half the people tend to stand up for him, and half the people tend to completely and totally say that he's a horrible human being. And it's usually gender-based.
Yeah.
So that's why I consider them like in that little group, because they all have a similar and different situation, right? The whole thing with Michael Jackson is that he has had multiple people come out and say things.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, that was a lie. And then there's like a new documentary and it's like, oh, here's all this other proof. Oh yeah, that was a lie. And a lot of that stuff was after he's already passed, you know? But at the end of the day, he was such a revolutionary change in music.
Yeah. There's a lot of change. That's what I said earlier.
That's such a good joke.
It's when you were really good.
Yeah. It's one of those things like,
are certain things forgiven? Are certain things in the history of music, right? Music industry. He did more for music.
For music, yeah.
Right? Than most other people, not only just in genre, but just in general in music.
Well,
so
here's
he's influenced so many people over the years growing up that
he influenced the other 2 people on this list, by the way.
yeah, absolutely.
100%. Like, yeah. Well, this is the one thing that I've always thought of, right? And it's the most like extreme example of something, right? Mm-hmm. But that's how my brain works. You know this. Let's just say that some researcher figures out the cure for cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And he's being praised for discovering this cure.
Yeah.
And then 2 days later, we find out he's got people in his basement.
Right. And that's how he found that cure.
Right. Do we now no longer use the cure? Because that's his art.
Yeah.
Because he has a patent on it, by using the cure for cancer, we are supporting him.
There's a lot of research the Nazis did by experimenting on humans that I'm sure it was used in medical science.
But my thought process with this, and I know you're backing up my claim 100%. Yeah. It's just that I personally, by the way, I feel that an overarching aspect of this entire topic is I feel like every person has to answer this question for themselves. And I think every person should 100% have the right to have their own opinion on this. Oh, yeah. I think it's a very personal thing.
Choose not to follow them. Choose not.
Absolutely. You should have, nobody should. Okay. Your real friends, they should give you shit because that's what your friends do. They talk junk.
Right.
But they shouldn't be serious about it, about any of these types of things. But everything's very personal.
What if I support an artist because I like their art
and
they did something right?
I don't think I have the right to
crap
be
on
pissy
me.
On you.
Right. I should be canceled because I support Chris Brown, for instance, let's just say, right? As an example.
If anything, I think I support Chris Brown more than you do.
Yeah. No, well, I want to get to him because there is something I want to mention on that.
Oh, cool, no problem.
But yeah, I mean, it's you shouldn't have the right to then cancel me.
Right. Exactly.
How far does it go?
Right. And I don't want to get too much into cancel culture itself because we have an upcoming episode purely on that.
Ooh.
It's going to be fun. But just to before we jump off Michael to go on to Chris.
That's weird.
I literally did not think about that until right now. Would I ever want my daughter, gosh, this sounds so horrible, to hang out with Michael Jackson? No,
that's all right. Well,
but
maybe my daughter, not my son.
I know. So that's actually why I started laughing. But the same token, have I shown my daughter Thriller? Yeah.
Yeah. Because the art's good.
Because it's amazing.
Yeah.
Did I explain to her where some of the references from Bad are from West Side Story and how the whole movement and the things of it? Yes.
Yeah.
All those types of things are transformative aspects of the art.
Right.
That
theater into pop. I mean, that's amazing.
His little mini movie type things, that was revolutionary at the time frame.
Yeah.
And now we have a lot of people that do. Mm-hmm. But it's I don't have a problem personally going from action to cut. This person right here, awesome. After cut, I don't want anything to do with them.
That's what I said. If it's good enough.
Right.
If what they do is good enough. I mean, sorry. It is what it is.
My brother has a photo with Michael Jackson. Remember, state poster child. Mm-hmm. Back in his Thor time frame with the jacket on and the whole spiel. Mm-hmm. That is really cool. Should that thing be burned? No.
Right.
But there again, I would have thought twice about having my brother around him. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Not like he can fight him off.
The children.
My God. It's innocent.
It's innocent.
It's not sexual. But go ahead and jump on the
Chris Brown.
Yeah.
If it wasn't Rihanna that he hit,
yes,
we would forget about this.
Boom. Okay. I am so glad that you were brave enough to say your truth. because that is the biggest thing.
There's plenty of people that have done things that we just, as long as we didn't know the other person's name and they weren't famous, that, okay, oh yeah, he did that one thing. That's a shame. Anyway, his new album's coming out next year. You know,
the reason, and this isn't to downplay. And I want to make sure I can easily speak for Chris here. It's not to downplay the act. It's just the truth of the matter is that it would not have been as newsworthy for as long as it was in the news if it would have been a non-celebrity that the domestic violence was on.
Right.
People would not have been invested because people would not have been invested in that particular woman's life.
Right.
People were very much invested in Rihanna's life because she was a celebrity by her own right. At that point in time, was rivaling Chris Brown, who was pretty high. Now, of course, is way more.
Actually, Rihanna, I actually looked at her work.
She has a catalog, bro.
A huge catalog.
I will say I like her old stuff way more than like the stuff in the last 5-10 years.
I kind of like all of her stuff. Like, I kind of like her. I looked through it. I'm like, I do like her stuff. I surprised myself at how much I enjoy her stuff.
That I absolutely don't like for no reason, but I actually realized I love all of her hits.
Who's that?
Taylor Swift.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Her hits are so effing catchy, that it drives me insane. Yeah. But as like a person, if I see her like talking,
you can snatch her award.
I know. I just turn her off. Like I don't want to see her talk. I don't want to see her in commercials. I don't find her charming. I find her
disconnected from
reality.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't really care for her at all.
She lives in some mansion valley somewhere that like, okay, you know.
Yeah. It's just her cat.
Songs are good, right?
I know she has a cat. The cat's actually pretty cute.
Nice.
But like her singles, dude.
I agree. Her art's great. That's an example of like I can care less about her as a person.
That's the thing too.
Her art's
I think that people only talk about that separation of art and artist when it's like the artist has done something bad.
Right.
I think there's also just like I don't like that person. I don't know why. I just got a feeling. You know what I mean? I'm just like I don't like them.
Yeah.
They've never done anything to me personally. They've never done they've never portrayed a character that I disliked.
Right.
But it's just like, nah.
It typically probably comes down to they remind you of someone that it bothers you.
Yeah. That's
right.
Typically what you would think subconsciously, some sort of connection. Yeah.
Right. So I will say, with Rihanna and
sorry, I was trying to think if there was anybody in my mind.
Yeah, you're trying to relate. She
reminds me of. I'm like, there's that one girl in high school named Forrest. She's the only other person that has the same kind of eyes. Yeah. But she was always really sweet. I don't know. Whatever.
No, I'll say that, it did do a lot to promote Love the Way You Lie and that song in a music video because it was literally about domestic abuse.
What about the one with her
Monster.
and Eminem?
That was Love the Way.
That was the one.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They did two songs together about very similar things. So
let me just clarify something. I can remember the title of a movie forever. I can remember the name of the characters. I can remember dialogue. I cannot remember the name of my favorite songs.
Right.
And I have no idea why.
Yeah.
Song titles, I'm just like,
yeah. And that's a good song. Tells a story.
Yeah, it's a good song.
Lyrically, it's good, And then she's got a version of it in her album too, which is more her. And then he has a little part in it. I thought it was like they did a good job with
both versions are actually really good. Yeah, I remember when that came out. Now let's end the music section.
Yeah.
With R. Kelly. And here's one where, in my opinion, I never really gave a crap about his music. He has like 2 or 3 songs.
He remixed Ignition like 3 times or 4 times. I don't know.
Yeah. The Ignition remix is one of those songs that I'm like, that's a good song.
Hear it in my head right now.
What's the one? My body's telling me, or my mind's telling me no, my body's telling me yes, whatever it is. Bump and Grind, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
See, can't remember names, but that's a good song. And then Space Jam.
I Believe I Can Fly.
Thank you. I Believe I Can Fly. Those are the 3 songs that I think of
That
when I think
song's
of R. Kelly.
only good because of the movie.
100%.
Because then it takes you to there and like,
Yes.
you're like it's inspirational.
It's Michael Jackson hanging out with his father, where he can stay up, shoot until he missed.
Michael Jordan.
What did I say?
Jackson.
I said Jackson, didn't I? My fault.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to North Carolina. I'm going to be the star. And he just keeps making it and keeps making it. And you're just like, oh, such a good song.
Yeah. Well, that song's great because it was, as you said, inspirational. It builds.
Yes.
Right.
It's
and then just the climax of it. It's
I
well composed, well written.
If I would have been older when that song came out, I would probably know who like all the co-writers and how that works. It's a great song.
Yeah.
But anyway, I like those 3 songs, but the second that one of those songs start, I'm like, oh, pedophile.
The only song that doesn't do it is I Believe I Can Fly.
Oh, no, because that one makes me think Space Jam immediately.
Because it's an anthem song.
But it goes, my immediate thought is Space Jam, Michael Jordan, Bugs Bunny, Bill Murray.
Yes.
And then pedophile.
I don't picture.
It's still pedophile at the end.
Yeah.
It's just that it takes me a minute to get there.
You just got to picture that R. Kelly's at the screening.
By the way,
Space Jam, and
right,
he's peeing from the
right
balcony
before
on all the children watching it.
right before my mind leaves the whole situation, is it goes pedophile, Dave Chappelle. Because then I think about him making fun of him.
Yeah, of course.
And that's just hilarious.
Yeah, he did what any good comedian would do.
Yeah, took advantage of the situation, and there you go.
Yep.
Now, is there anyone else musically that you would think of before we move on to like someone else?
There's probably tons of them, but
Just
not
off
right
the top of your head that you can think of.
Those are like the big ones.
Those are like the big names that I think
recent
of.
time that because there's a lot.
Oh, there's tons of people that have been in trouble because of some comment they've said here or there, and
or should have been, but wasn't. But yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to people that are in front of the camera, right? So, movies, TV, any of that kind of stuff. I feel like it's a little bit different because I feel like it's usually different issues currently.
Okay. Let's take a current issue.
Okay.
Will Smith.
Oh, okay. So what? Okay. Question.
Yeah.
Because I don't care about celebrities that much.
Yeah. Me neither.
Is the current issue with Will Smith the fact that he just like assaulted Chris Rock?
Yeah.
Just that.
I would say so. Yeah.
No, I'm not trying to be a smart aleck. I'm just saying, is there any more to that thing now that we're worrying about or we're talking about, or is it just, hey, he lost his cool and he assaulted another human being?
Pretty much.
Okay, cool. Okay, now that we've established that, what's your question?
Well, my question is, it's not more of a question, just posing. Do you not respect him or like him enough now?
No, that has no effect on me.
You don't care at all.
Here's my thing: have you ever hit anybody in your life?
Yeah. Not a woman.
Sorry, let me rephrase that. Have you ever struck another man in your life?
Yes.
Can you answer the same thing for me? Have I ever struck another man in my life?
I think so.
Yeah. Does it make you not want to hang out with me?
Well, you hit like a girl, so. Just kidding. No.
But you know what I'm saying?
But I think the difference is, and I can't speak on you per se, but I think you can decide what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, right?
Right.
And for the reasons I've gotten into physical altercations, I felt was a lot different than someone just saying something. It wasn't over just being dissed or being, you know what I mean?
Right.
A family member being slighted or something like that, because then you could just get into a battle of wits, right? Using words, and you can probably destroy them. But like when it came to physically, I was, put in a position where I had to, then I did. right? And that's kind of what I can say for my situations. I never just in front of a group of people went up to someone and just hit them just because.
Fair, but I wouldn't say that it's fair to say that he just hit somebody just because. In his mind, I'm sure the fact that this person was insulting, that this person was saying something that he found to be insulting about his wife, significant other, would have been the cause. So I don't think that's just because.
My opinion, and there's a lot of reasons why it couldn't be, but you know, and a lot of people have this opinion as well, I think, but I think Will Smith's career was not going in a very good direction. I think he wasn't held to the same acclaim as he, had been with some of his movies and performances.
He won the Academy Award that same night for Best Actor.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, I don't know.
So I don't think, and that's his third for Best Actor.
Yeah,
and I think that was the second year in a row.
Maybe, I guess so.
So I don't think his career as far as his action movie style stuff, that ended a long time ago when he started 7 Pounds and Concussion and Pursuit of Happiness, and he started going Oscar bait.
I guess it's just it just doesn't seem like people cared about him as much. Just because it's the Academy doesn't mean that it's popularity. He's
right.
With fan and he's not being talked about. No one. He's kind of phasing into that next part of his career.
I understand what you're saying with that aspect, but the reason why he's not part of the common vernacular is because the only movie that he did that the common folk would see was Aladdin.
Yeah.
And that was atrocious, 100%.
Right. Well, Concussion was terrible.
I think he got an award for that.
It was terrible.
Okay. Most of his more recent films have been more of the, and I'm not saying this in a certain kind of way because I don't like watching any of these types of films, so I haven't seen any of them, but it's more of the sophisticated palette style movies.
Sure.
Oscar movies.
Okay. I think there was a lot of attempts at him recently, and that one was good.
Which one?
Whichever the one he just got.
King Richard?
Yeah. And
that was for the Serena and Venus tennis movie.
Right. Yep.
I said it totally backwards because actually Venus and Serena Williams.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm looking up because now I'm curious. I forget, but of course, when my brain is trying to do two things at once, I can't click correctly. Now, but to go back to the original point where we're talking about having an issue with it, do I think he should have walked up to somebody on stage and lost his cool? No, it showed a weak-willed man.
Sure.
But in that regard, am I going to hold it against him that he did something that, once again, I'm looking at it as that he deemed protecting his family? No. Because there's been people that have said things. There's been situations where people have said things about my family, and I've reacted too. So I have no problem with that.
Yeah, it wasn't even that. It wasn't that bad of a joke. That's the problem. It wasn't. He could have said so many other, and he does in his new stand-up.
Oh yeah,
Chris Rock.
Well, I think
he does say these things.
I will say that I'm not stating that what was said would have caused me to react. I'm trying to look at it from his point of view.
It was
I think there's a whole other issue with his marriage that is crazy.
It's funny enough because that's what Chris Rock talks about in his special. It was gets into the little bit of that because he just says, "The heck with it. I'm just going to say what I want to say now." But he's on camera laughing at the joke, and then he turns and says, "Jada," angry and not laughing, shoots him a look, and then he's angry all of a sudden, and he gets up and does what he does because he's embarrassed because he laughed at the joke and his wife just watched him laugh at that joke. and snicker at it. Now he overcorrects and does that and takes it out on him because he's got to be the, you're right. It's so weak and it's so terrible to see. It's like, oh, come on. You're not even being genuine. All the stuff when you see him being interviewed about like how to be successful and this and that and, not letting things and get to all this like awesome inspirational stuff that he says, it's all just garbage when he does something stupid like that and doesn't even live the thing that he says he's about.
100%.
Right?
100%. I agree with that. But
now who are we to judge? Because if we like his art.
Well, that's what I was like. I was trying to find one really quick that I wanted to see if there was going to be a sequel of, and like the first thing I'm like trying to think of is like, if all of a sudden Men in Black 4 comes out and he's going to be in it, I'm gonna go watch it.
I'm not. I don't think I saw the last one.
I didn't see it only because I don't have access to it. If they make any type of movie that I like, so more action based style movies that he then is in, yeah, I'm gonna go see it. I have no problem with him.
Yeah,
he doesn't bother me. Do I think that he was very small minded in that moment and showed his ass a little bit? Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Does he deserve to have Chris Rock now freaking destroy him?
Yes.
100%.
Those are the consequences.
Absolutely.
But
that's the equivalent of the consequences for free speech.
Yep.
Also, the fact that he is banned from the Oscars for 10 years.
So that's what I wanted to get at with this.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, okay.
You're right. So, this was an interesting turn because, he was getting to that phases in his career where he isn't the front man kind of like leading guy who's gonna, everyone's gone through this, right? Like a lot of actors have. Tom Cruise for some reason is sticking around that leading guy because he just
Tom Cruise,
right? But like
Tom Cruise is going to be 175.
But like for instance,
still doing Mission Impossible,
Oscar-winning performance, like Denzel, for instance, like he came up, everyone loved him. He was like, oh, he was hot, like Denzel, like people, women loved him, men wanted to be him. And then he got to like that action roles, and he was doing that. Then he serious, good drama roles, and those dramas were awesome, and he was just on the top. And then he started doing movies that were like, they weren't hitting. He was trying to do the cool guy actor, action, but cool, laid back stuff. And it's just, the dad bod kicked in, he's not like a young man anymore, right? So he's in a different phase of his career where he's doing that. And he just kind of fell off in terms of that type of like stardom that he had. Now he's still good. When they make the next Equalizer, am I going to see it? Yeah, I'd like to see that because it's cool. Like, I think
they're on Equalizer like 3 or 4 now.
I think it's like 3. This will be 3.
Is it a new one?
4? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I know there's a new one. I just don't remember which one it is.
Coming out. He's not generating that Oscar hype or that Academy hype. Now, Will Smith was getting to that phase in his career where he was starting to kind of go in that path again of like, all right, I'm going to roll over to more of that serious. I'm going to do those characters and I'm going to try to, he's going for those movies, right?
Right. No,
he's going for it. And now he can't be nominated. Is that right? Because of this action, is that right?
No.
Okay.
He shouldn't be allowed to be there. He shouldn't be allowed to pick up his Oscar at the actual thing. He shouldn't be allowed to speak. Right. But he should be allowed to be nominated because the work is still the work.
Right.
And if you're going to be fair and equal, then you can't ostracize somebody because you don't like something they did.
Should he be still getting work?
Yeah. If he's good enough to be able to do the work.
If a production company or whatever says, well, that's going to kill, like, we want someone who's going to be nominated because that's going to bring more fame and revenue, it's attention and revenue in for our movie. This guy can't even, is out of the loop. He can't even be nominated for it. Why are we going to pick him over someone else, right? That's going to hurt it. Will that hurt his chances
Will that hurt his chances? Yes.
Receive a role.
Should it hurt his chances? No.
Right.
The reality versus what should happen.
Sure.
Right. In my opinion, the person that is capable of delivering the best performance should be the person that is hired.
For any job.
Period. Especially for acting. Now, I will say this. There is also chemistry with your people. So let's say that you decide that person one is the most important person to cast. So you cast them first. You have two people come in that are both great for acting for person number two. Mm-hmm. But one of them has great chemistry with person one. The other one doesn't have the best chemistry, but you think can pull off the character better. I can understand going with the person two.
Okay.
Because it's not, the chemistry is going to be better and that character isn't as important as the one you've deemed. So that hire I can understand.
Sure.
But overall, you should be looking for the best.
A lot of it comes down to like availability, shooting time, that kind of thing too. It's weird how that all pans out.
Price.
Yeah. Salary.
I mean, he's going to be much more available now.
Yeah.
Because he probably lost good $20 million off his asking price.
You think so?
Yeah. See, okay. Should he not be paid as much anymore for a movie because he's no longer going to be bringing the possibility of an Oscar to the movie? Yes.
Yeah, well, that'll be the market, right? So if he keeps missing out on roles because they're not casting him, his agent is going to say, all right, we'll do it for this. We'll do it for this amount then.
Right. Well, that's
hey, here's my asking price, but it's like...
So, like, if he was set up to do this movie, right, and he was going to get paid $25 million, right, and their issue is now that he's done this situation, their movie is no longer going to be able to be considered for an Oscar for multiple categories because he's a part of those categories. He's no longer benefiting the situation as much as he was. Therefore, he's no longer as valuable as he was. Because part of the whole aspect of your name is sometimes name recognition alone will get you into the running for things. Like, there was a certain point in time, I don't know if it still is or not, but if you heard Leo, you were like, oh, well, he's going to get nominated.
Sure.
I don't know what the movie's about. I don't know what it is. He'll be nominated. It could be a Kevin Smith movie. It'll get nominated.
Yeah, he's the guy who was nominated but never won.
Exactly.
He finally won. It was for a movie that I wish he would have won for other movies.
Which one was it again?
The Revenant.
Revenant? I'd never seen that one.
He won because he was wrestling a bear. Yeah. Like,
yeah. So really quick, just because I was looking through while we were talking, Will Smith in the past like 4 or 5 years, because pandemic wise, he had like 3 serious movies, 1 Bad Boys movie, and then the Gemini Man movie and Aladdin.
Right.
So he wasn't going down.
Were they good movies? That was a Netflix movie, right? Gemini Man. Oh, no, Gemini Man was in theaters.
Yeah, Gemini Man was in theaters. That one didn't do too good.
No.
But I know the Bad Boys movie apparently did pretty decent. I still haven't seen it.
Crash.
And then he did the King Richard, and he did the other one that's coming out this year.
Emancipation, I believe.
Emancipation, yeah. I almost said his character named Peter. And then before that, he did the Collateral Beauty.
Well, that was a while ago.
I know, but he hasn't.
Did Bright? That was the last one that came out. That
Bright did not do well.
Did not.
And that was the Netflix.
I mean, but Aladdin wasn't liked either. Like, there isn't a lot of.
Right, but see, there's a lot of things right here, but like music video, special appearance in so-and-so's music video, Gemini Man.
Making my point, though.
This is a short.
His career isn't doing great compared to the hits he was doing. He's banger after banger, right? before in the past. He's on a decline. Ever since After Earth, it was all downhill.
After Earth,
actually, there were some movies that I liked after that, more serious ones. Focus wasn't terrible.
Focus was good, but
no, like Suicide Squad, that fell flat.
That was his.
I liked Collateral Beauty.
I never saw it. I heard about it. It sounded good.
It was all right.
Concussion, I always heard was really good.
I didn't hear. Yeah, I heard opposite. Really? Yeah,
I didn't see it.
I saw a couple parts. I mean, I would have thought the acting would be all right, but
well, I'm sure the acting was fine. Here's the thing: there's no question whether or not he can act.
No. We're not talking about that.
What he can get into. But yeah, so like I don't think he was really going down. Because here's the thing: is that he's been producing the.
I'm not talking about his
stuff.
I'm not talking about his career. Like,
but what I'm saying is that's what he's been focusing on.
Sure.
That's why he's been doing less acting, is because he's been focusing on those other things.
The point was the movies that were coming out with him in it were not hitting.
Right. Know? Okay. But this is what I'm saying. So 2008 through like 2014, he produced like maybe one thing every like year to 2 years.
Yeah. All I'm saying is
2018, he produced 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things.
Sure.
In 2019, it was only one thing. 2020, it was 6 things. In 2021, it was 5 things. In 2022, it was 7 things. This year, it only shows 1 so far. But you see, he's been focusing more on that.
You don't even know what level he's producing in, though. I mean, he could be a financial contributor to the project and not a creative contributor as well, right? A lot of them who even star in their movies, there are producers in them. Most stars now, you know. They're also produced by them. They're credited. He's credited as producers.
He has his own company.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Because I remember all the stuff from Burt Kreischer.
Yeah. My point to what I was going to say before I never finished that thought was, is Chris Rock was fizzling out in terms of
relevance,
hype, and popularity as a comedian because he's been doing it a long time and he's good. He's got a lot of specials. It did wonders for his career and his name and attention. Yes. But he didn't play the victim card. He didn't go on all the talk shows. He didn't do the whole thing. But he got busy writing.
Let me clarify. I'm not saying he played victim. No, he legitimately was the victim.
We're talking about him. People were talking about it. And Will Smith.
The only time we were talking about him before this was like, oh, is there a new Grown Ups movie?
Yes. Will Smith is being talked about in a way that he hadn't been. The last time there was talk about Will Smith, it was because of the interview that he did with his wife, where he basically is viewed as a little punk,
a cuck.
Yeah. And it's like, this dude. So his reputation was like, you're a little, you know. Now, I mean, he gets on stage and defends his wife and slaps a man.
Well, not really, because he slapped him.
But, you know,
a man would have punched him.
It looked like a really good slap. Yeah, well, it was a really well orchestrated slap.
Yeah, he was Muhammad Ali. He should know how to punch.
Yeah, exactly. Just saying, we slap a man. That's a big sign of disrespect. So, punch a man. Anyone can punch a man.
Yes. Okay. Well,
that was a stylish slap. Have you seen that slap? It was stylish.
Yeah,
you know.
I don't want to get into that because that's going to lead down a whole different line.
No, but my point is it.
I don't think he slapped to be disrespectful. Is what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
I think he hit him, and that was the first thing he thought of was, "I'm going to slap him."
He also knew he couldn't punch him. He would have been arrested.
Well, he could have been arrested for the slap.
He knew he would have knocked him out if he punched him. So he wasn't trying to hurt him. He was trying to show him. He was trying to manhandle him. You know.
I don't think Chris Rock could take a punch on him.
No,
I really don't.
I think he was just trying to show him, shut up. You know.
Yeah.
But the question is, which was a great movie.
Sorry, there's a little like montage of Will Smith's stuff, and it was the picture of him from Hitch.
I think the publicity for both people is phenomenal. And was it maybe a miscalculation on Will Smith's part? I think he thought, yeah, this is going to be talked about. I don't know if he knew that he'd be banned from receiving awards.
Right.
And that's really what
actually,
because that's what happened. He's banned from the academy, right?
Yes.
For X amount of time.
He quit the academy before the ban came through.
Oh, yes. Okay.
So he
stepped out.
Because he apologized, stepped down,
right,
and all the other kind of stuff before that happened. But let's be real. The second he got into the car, his publicist was already on the phone saying, this is what you're going to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, it is what it is.
Interesting.
Anybody else that we want to go into? Let's talk about one that we have a little bit more of a...
Comedians?
I want to do comedians, but we're saving that for last. So I just want to do one more guy here because this one's kind of bad. Let's talk about Kevin Spacey.
I was going to bring him up.
Right. Because here's the thing. Will Smith slaps a dude. He's a good guy. He's a bad guy. Whatever. Kevin Spacey is being... he was never convicted of anything because there was a settlement.
You need to remind me of exactly what he's accused of, because I kind of knew, but then I also don't
I'm going to Google it really quick just because I don't want to say the wrong thing.
I remember I was watching his show House of Cards, which was a phenomenal political show, and it was really good. And then that happened. And then I kind of fell out of interest of the show. Not for that reason.
Oh, well, it died after he left.
Well, he left it, and then the show was crap, obviously, But yeah. What did Kevin Spacey do to be canceled? Oh, okay. Sexual assault on a male or something, right?
Yeah. It was on a guy.
Like a guy or a boy?
I just don't remember if it was a minor or not. I think it was a minor. I feel like it was a minor man.
Right.
It doesn't really matter.
Boy. Yeah.
Yeah, he made sexual advances on a guy. That doesn't matter.
14, did it say 14 years old?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I the part that I said didn't matter was the fact that it says that he was openly gay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. Who said it? The person? The victim?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, because basically what happened is that this guy, who at the time was 46 years old, claimed that Spacey made inappropriate sexual advances on him when he was 14 years old. So he was talking about something that was 32 years in the past. Which still big deal, but 30 years is a long time. It's a little weird. Yeah, that's all it came down to.
Why did it? And we don't know enough, but
no.
Why would it come out that much time afterwards?
It was in an interview.
Interesting. I guess the only thing I would say were there other people that came forward because of that?
No.
This was the only...
That's the only thing that's showing. But anyway, the reason why I bring him up is he had to deal with this stuff, right? Do we now look at anything that he did in his career and go bad? Or do we look at anything he did in his career and go, that was a really good job actor, he's a freaking piece of shit?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with his art.
Yeah, I feel
I think he's a creep. I get creep vibes from him.
I've always gotten creep vibes from him.
Yeah.
Not like sexual assault creep vibes, but just like, I think he's a creepy looking dude. I mean, look at this photo he has right here.
Yeah,
You can't see it, I apologize. But like the lighting on this thing, that's a creep face. Like, all right, let's get a more flattering one. That's
it's his eyes. He's got always has a smug look, like he's
the smartest man in the room,
right, and he's scheming. Like there's always like I've got a secret, kind of thing,
I have a trump card that's going to be able to get you the loss and me the win, kind of thing.
Yeah, which is why he plays that character very well.
Yeah,
whenever he's playing. But like I think as a human being, he probably it's a little. It's
like he's the perfect caricature of how he looks in Horrible Bosses.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, agreed.
Where he steals the random dude's sandwich out of the car, ends up being allergic to it. The guy saves him, and then he punches him.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, no, I feel like no matter how you feel about like a Will Smith level incident, like I can still watch Fresh Prince. It's not going to bother me. I can still watch iRobot. I can still watch Bad Boys.
Honestly, it's not that thing that bothers me as much about him as the whole him and Jada's weird ass marriage.
Yeah, I mean,
if I were to put them,
if I was
each other,
the thing that I like have less respect for him for,
right?
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, that and the fact that he slapped instead of punched, but I'm getting caught up.
That doesn't bother me.
It bothers me.
Bother me.
It's just like, really? That's what we do now. That's what we're doing in the streets. We're slapping people like a little bitch. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So many great jokes.
Dude, what are you talking about? Slapping is in. You see these slapping contests, man? This is like a thing. This is actual like sanctioned sport now.
Yeah, I know. Dana White is.
I know. So I'm saying is like,
but he didn't.
It's the cool thing to
like
do.
That.
It was a pretty good form and everything, Now he didn't knock him out. He should have.
Right. So anyway, going back to Kevin Spacey, I don't know, man. I feel like I still wouldn't have an issue watching something that he did if he did it well. If he did it poorly, would I be more likely to be like, why are we watching this pedophile? Would I? Yeah, because I'm going to make a messed up joke. That's just the way I am. But the same token, I'm like, I don't know. I don't have an issue with separating. I really don't.
I'm not boycotting anyone for that reason. I'm trying to think of what I would boycott someone for.
The closest thing, and I'm still on the fence on it, is the Aquaman 2.
The Amber Heard.
Yeah, I still don't really want to see it.
If it was her movie,
it is.
Like if it was, I guess if it was.
Guess how many minutes? Over 30.
That's fine. She's not the star,
right?
If she was a star, then I would. I'm not seeing it for her, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I don't like the aspect of the whole situation. And so it's that particular one. I'm just like, that particular person makes me not really give a crap about the movie as much.
I'd rather watch that movie, Aquaman 2, with her in it than whatever new artsy fartsy Johnny Depp movie that would come out right now.
But I would rather watch one of the pirate movies that he would have been doing, Pirates 37, that would be coming out now.
Sure.
Sure, yeah. I actually would have probably watched more of the Fantastic Beasts movies if he would have been able to stay in that character.
That's a shame. I think that would have been a great, because that was starting to be a great little franchise that could have done more.
And now that he's basically no longer Disney friendly.
Well, I don't think they have a problem with him anymore. I think that he's said he's not going to do it anymore. I think that's the problem. Yeah.
Oh, did you hear that Amber Heard's going to be back in court right before Aquaman 2 comes out?
No.
Yep.
Countersuit?
Yeah, I think she's suing her team, and her team is suing her.
I can't wait. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
When I see her in court. That was entertaining.
DC is really kind of pissed.
Yeah, I bet.
Because it's coming out that it's going to be a jury, and it's going to be 2.5 weeks before Aquaman 2 comes out.
That's funny.
Yeah. So it'll help.
You can't, yeah.
Dive down those
going into the abyss.
Viewies even more.
James Gunn was almost canceled.
They tried. They got him, and then his actors brought him back. If it wasn't for Batista.
What was that for, though? What was he canceled for?
Oh, okay. So I looked this up recently. At the time that he was canceled, because I don't remember when it was somewhere before Guardians 2 came out.
Okay. I remember that. Yeah.
10 years previous to that, he said a lot of, as he put it, shock tweets, where he would say something totally effed up and controversial,
right,
in order to draw attention to then, like, relevance.
Sure.
And a lot of them had to do with like underage joke type situations.
Oh, got it.
And it had to do with at the time frame, like political stuff that was going on, where people were similar to like the QAnon thing, where like the Democrats are like eating babies' blood and shit like that. But at that point in time, it was more of like everybody was messing around with underage kids,
right?
And so
certified fresh,
yeah. So he
like him
so
doing
the comments he made
something funny, like a joke or whatever, that would be like,
no, they were a little bit more risque.
Oh, okay.
They were pretty bad. But it was to me, as a twisted individual, I'm like, dude, that's messed up. As I'm chuckling.
It's amazing how white his hair got.
Yeah, it's amazing what comes out of a box.
Even his beard, he's just dying it all white.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the look. Platinum.
Yeah, he's been doing that now for like a couple of years.
No, I've seen him that way, but I don't remember what he looked like before.
I think he looked like that.
Yeah. No, I saw. That's what I saw. Yeah.
I wish I could spell that word. If I could spell the word controversy, it would make things so much easier. Boom.
Why did James Gunn get canceled?
Come on, show me it doesn't show in this.
Show me the money.
So anyway, basically he said some really messed up stuff. I'm trying to find the things now, and then I will give an example.
There's one.
No.
Oh. Never mind.
That's what people are saying in response to.
All right.
So annoying.
Oh, I believe you.
But basically what happened is, okay, so he said some messed up stuff, right? Then there was a group or an organization that didn't like him just in general.
Okay.
That then started digging. They found these tweets. They exposed all these tweets. He hadn't deleted them or anything like that. They were just like, he was on the shit.
They were there.
Yeah. And they threatened to like boycott Disney and all this other stuff.
I remember
Disney
that.
didn't fire him. So Disney, not Marvel, Disney fired him.
Right.
And that happened about a month after he had been announced to basically be the Kevin Feige of the Marvel
Cosmic
section.
Right. I remember
He was going to take over all the cosmic stuff.
Yep.
So he got fired. And then when he got fired, Batista was like, no, you fire him, I quit. And they were like, your contract. And he's like, I don't care. If he's not directing and writing, I'm not acting.
Right.
And a couple of the other ones were also saying that. I'm sure his brother was. Uh, and I'm pretty sure Pratt was also one of the ones that was like, no, leave the man alone. Like, this is from way back when, whatever. And he did handle it pretty decently too. The way he like apologized for, he's like, hey man, this is what I was doing. I'm not saying that you should excuse it. I'm just saying this is more information about the mindset. This was what my purpose was for it. It was stupid. It was immature. And obviously it's not a good idea. I don't believe in those things. Also, 10 years ago, I'm no longer the same person. Just like you could probably say you're not the same person from 10 years ago as well. Right. So this is what it is. And so then Marvel went like, yeah, we're gonna hire him back. So they hired him back. But let's look at the real repercussions. DC now has him. Guaranteed that would not have happened if he would not have been fired from because of Disney.
Sure.
Also, I bet you we would have better Marvel movies right now because Kevin Feige would not be spread so thin because he would have had a partner.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Yeah, I think he just fulfilled his contract with what he needed to do with Marvel, and
he has a little bit left.
Right. What I'm saying is
promotions. That's it.
What I'm saying is he wasn't in it anymore.
Oh, yeah.
As much as he was fulfilling what he already promised, right? And then he's out. Now he's at DC. So it's interesting.
So let's talk about comics.
Louis C.K.
All right.
It's back.
Yeah. Yeah. He's had 3 specials since then.
And he's addressed it.
One of them was called Sorry.
Right.
I think that was the biggest one.
I like how I forgot he had a line about like, he's like, yeah, that was my thing. And everyone has a thing. And now you know mine.
One of the other ones that he said that was super funny to me, which was, wow. So 2019, right? It's just like, I don't know what you guys are up to. You know what I was up to. But it's just, he's addressing it without addressing it.
Right. Yeah. He COVIDed all over everyone.
Here's my thing about that whole situation. I can see both sides of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he stated that he didn't realize he had been doing anything wrong because he had always asked if they consented before he did what he did.
Right.
And they all said, okay.
Right.
I understand that mindset, but I also understand that like they kind of had to say, okay, you were their boss, or they needed something from you because you were the headliner. Like
you were in
a position where
of power,
it was you were in a position of power where a normal person would have been like, if I don't say yes, this could be detrimental to my career.
Listen, honestly, I shouldn't say this. Never mind. We're being recorded. I was going to say he actually, he could have asked for more.
Surprisingly, he didn't. But, everybody's got their own kinks. So
took advantage of that. And
he did.
And he took advantage of them. Yes. He could have taken advantage of them bodily, right? Which like Weinstein and all that, right?
Right.
All that's right. Like, we'll do this and then you'll get it, I'll help your career kind of thing. He just said, hey, let me do my weird little thing. You can watch it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's better.
No, I'm laughing just because of the fact that it is kind of weird.
But, the kind of trauma that would cause versus actually being physically abused, in that sense.
Right.
If you're gonna be accosted in some way, I'd rather have that. You know what I mean? I think the problem with it probably in the moment is they probably, and I don't know, it's a speculation, they may have gone along with it a little bit. They may have
Nobody knows.
We don't know, right? Because I can guarantee you, if they looked uncomfortable or they look like they're not like into it or upset, or if they're crying, you think he's going to sit there and continue that act, right?
Right.
I don't know. I would say no, but once again, we don't know what he's into. He might like that kind of thing. So, so that's the only thing. It's like, get yourself out of that position. But I do get that position of power. I'm sorry. I don't buy it. I think honestly that none of it's worth it. It's not worth being put in a situation that you're gonna regret or gonna not want to participate in just because you think you can get something from not speaking up or leaving the room. Like, I think that's wrong. I think that there's some shared guilt there, in my opinion. I know that's the most unpopular opinion, but I also come from the school of thought of like, you have to advocate for yourself, and you should always do that. And no matter what those consequences are, if you do the right thing, you will usually come out on top.
Yeah.
You know, not, yeah. I was about to make a play on word joke there for come out on top, but I'm going to move on from that.
Well, I'm now reading the James Gunn tweets.
Oh, you found them?
Yes. I'm trying to make sure I can say these. Oh
boy.
All right.
He's laughing at it, and it's really bad.
Oh, it's horrible, but it's kind of funny. So I apologize. I am going to be cursing. So this one was in 2010, August 15th. The Expendables, so that tells you the time frame.
Oh boy.
Was so manly, I fucked the shit out of the little pussy boy next to me. The boys are back in town. I'm sorry. If you think he's being serious with that, then I think you're a little extra. Is it appropriate? No. But
who's he trying to insult there, though?
Well, you could say a bunch of things. He said that he fucked a little boy, so pedophilia. He called him a little pussy boy, so that means he's effeminate. So that means that you're being
well, it could have been
a certain thing.
A man that you're now.
I'm fully aware. I'm just saying. Here's one from 2011 in September. I'm doing a big Hollywood film adaptation of The Giving Tree with a happy ending. The tree grows back and gives the kid a blowjob.
Okay. He's trying to be funny.
Yeah, he's trying to be funny.
It's an example of a.
This one is funny, and you don't have to laugh. I find it funny, but it's messed up. This hotel shower is the weakest ever. Felt like a 3-year-old was peeing on my head. It's like, it's stupid, but it's like, this is what he got canceled for?
Yeah, I don't see.
Eagle snatches kid is what I call it when I get lucky. Eagle snatches kid is in like quotations.
Cancel worthy.
Yeah, but it is when.
It is when if you're like a CEO, and people find that, you step down.
Well, here's a couple of things to say tranny. So hold on.
Oh boy.
I just downloaded that new Steven Tyler single. I feel the type of shame usually reserved for getting a $3 BJ from a maybe tranny. Trying to figure out the most disgusting feature of Vegas.
Dude looks like a lady. These
tranny-horrific Rita Rudder billboards or all the Ed Hardy clothing.
Yeah.
So he says words that at that point in time were not okay to say, but hadn't been like, hey, you're not supposed to say that anymore.
The world, it's like the world was saying that stuff and it was fine, and now it's
so when you're looking at it 10 years later, it looks worse. And then also the subject matter is a lot of like sex with little boys. I mean, little boys is probably sped like all throughout here.
Wow.
But once again, you can tell that he's saying these kind of things to get a reaction.
Right.
So, it is what it is. But yeah, that was the whole thing from that. There's it's like 10 or 15 different tweets. and they're all. I said some of the worst ones. There's a couple of there that I didn't say, but it's just because they're more like niche.
I don't want to deviate from the comic thing too far, but I will say I just read something recently that they're re-releasing or revising or re-editing classic works of art, like classic literature, and revising some of the language in it to make it more PC. Like,
I disagree with that.
So do I. So like To Kill a Mockingbird, or, you know, something like that, like
Huckleberry Finn.
Right, Huckleberry Finn. I think these are like literal examples of things that I think
Books that are currently banned.
The banned books. They're gonna try to, you know, put them back in, but like not use those bad words, right? The problem is that it takes away from the period, you know, and that expression, you know. Then, like, I don't know. I just don't know how I feel about that, you know. Do we need to move on as a country? Should we be looking at these old books, I guess? And, you know,
okay, that's I think more of the question is,
right.
Should we still be reading Huckleberry Finn? No.
Right.
Is it because of the way that they utilize the language and who the subject matter? No, it's because it's no longer relevant to writing standards. There's better examples from better authors that are more recent and that would be more interesting to the people you're trying to teach, which would allow them to have a chance of becoming more into the actual curriculum and then learning more.
I think
in general,
I think you introduce a class or a section of a class, which is classic literature, and then you have it's a category, and you cite those things. It's separate.
It's no longer. I don't think it should be a middle school or high school book any longer. I feel like that should be now a college credit style course,
right?
Where you said it's kind of like film history,
right?
You know, that's where that belongs,
right?
But let's talk about comics quick,
yeah,
because I want to talk about the biggest controversial comic, which is not Louis C.K. in my opinion.
Okay,
it's Chappelle. I think he had the biggest people going crazy on him.
He did.
Because he still currently has it.
He still currently has it. And he was invited to host SNL. So I don't think it affected him in many ways.
But do you know why I feel like it didn't affect him, in my opinion? Because he didn't allow it to affect him.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's a lot of these people that we've talked about that either did something that they feel like they were ashamed of and they realized was wrong.
Right.
Or they were trying to do something to get a reaction, to solicit a reaction. I feel like Chappelle just says what he says. He believes in what he says. And so when someone's like, oh, man, you can't say that, he goes, oh, well, I kind of can because I just did.
Right. It's because currently, I can't speak for back then, but and he's even mentioned this, but currently he's calculated. He says what he thinks and thinks what he says, and cancel me for that. Nope, this is my art. Like, this is what I do. You don't like it, don't participate.
And here's my thing I will say about this is that as somebody who, I would say I watch more stand-up than the average person.
You do. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like some connoisseur, and I don't see everything. And there's certain genres that I don't really care for.
Like, sit down.
Yeah, no, that's a lie. I actually like Murrin. He always sits. It's funny though. Good job. That being said, half the crap that people try to cancel him for is so agendaed.
Yeah,
because he will say in a single sentence without taking a breath, I don't have problems with X person. As long as they are cool with me, I'm cool with them. Now, let me tell you about a person that was not cool with me.
Right.
He didn't say a group of people. He didn't say all of them. He said a person.
Mm-hmm.
And then he tells a story.
Right.
And then what is spun is that this is how he feels about all X people.
No, it's. I think it's because of the jokes he makes within that story to poke fun at the things that group or person is representing or how they're.
I get that.
Right. That's where he's getting the heat, you know? So.
But there again, like, I don't know. I think the funniest thing to me.
Comic.
Well, yeah, no, that's the whole aspect. Is that
he's going to say the thing that's offensive and that's
comedy.
Right.
And here's the thing. If you don't like that kind of comedy, that's perfectly fine.
Right.
Once again, as somebody who's watched a lot of comedy, there are plenty of comedians you can go watch that are going to make you giggle uncontrollably. And it's going to be pretty PG. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I'm not trying to be funny, but like, go watch a Wayne Brady show.
Sure.
You're going to laugh.
Right.
It's different. It's improv. It's a little thing. He's going to make some sexual jokes here and there, you know, a little like, ha, 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 ha. But he's not going to insult anybody's gender or, you know, sexual orientation or anything like that because it's not stuff he talks about.
Right.
Right? You can probably watch Jerry Seinfeld, not have an issue.
Right.
You cannot listen to Dave Attell.
Right.
Not a good idea.
Right.
You know, there's different people. And if you're going to go to one of the shows that is being presented by a person that talks about issues that you don't like, and then you complain about it, I don't think your complaint is valid.
Right.
Because you chose to go in there.
Would you go in there not knowing what kind of comedian they are? Like, how do you...
Even if that is the case, right?
Just leave. Walk
Yeah.
out.
Because here's my thing. Okay, so the last... I wish I could remember the name of it, but I don't even want to look it up. But like the last big show that Dave Chappelle had. In the audience.
Was it Sticks and Stones or something like that? It was one of those
like that.
when he did the Netflix
Yeah,
run.
it was like
Right.
the last Netflix one. Like center of the audience, like 8 rows back,
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
are 2 women sitting
Right.
that, without trying to be disrespectful or rude, look like the type of people that would be more towards like the LGBTQ plus type situation.
Sure.
Right? Completely and totally stick out from the rest of the crowd.
Okay.
Mostly because I think they were the only 2 white people right there.
Yeah.
Also, they're slightly heavy, right? They had a lot of bright colors versus everybody else. And for the first half of the show, they're laughing their butts off. It's just, you know, Chappelle being Chappelle, saying funny stuff. Then like the last little quarter where he starts addressing the, all right, well, since the last time I said stuff, more people have talked junk, so I'm going to talk junk back because that's the way I work.
Right.
Then it starts panning to them again, and it looks like they're crying.
Right.
And it's just one of those things where I'm like, do I feel bad that their emotions, like they became emotional because they got their feelings hurt? Yes, of course. I'm a human. I don't want anyone to feel bad. Do I feel sorry for them? No, because they chose to go. And the frickin' thing that pisses me off with comedy is it's all cool when we talk about them. But the second we talk about something that has to do with
Right.
us, now it's an issue.
Right. Oh, it's now you're insulting my people. You crossed the line.
Right.
Of whatever that
Like,
is. Right. It's tough. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I have certain buttons. You know this. But with comedy, I don't.
Sure.
I don't like people talking about like handicapped people that much. I have a brother who's handicapped.
Sure.
I don't like my brother at all, but he's still like, you know, his family.
Yeah. You've probably heard things in your youth that weren't great, you know, regarding that, and maybe it hits a little sore spot or something like that.
Well,
who
it
knows?
just-
Like psychologically,
Right.
why does it affect you? Sure.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Well, mainly it affects my mom. You know what I mean? So it's
So
like
that affects you.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's like third party.
Right.
But if a comedian is talking junk about someone who you could talk about the exact form of muscular dystrophy that he has, and it's funny, I'm going to laugh my ass off. Why? Because that's what he does for a living.
Right.
He makes the funnies.
And if it's not done well or funny,
then I'm not going to be offended. I'm going to be like, oh man, you really need to work on that because that you're going to piss people off, bro.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, okay, that sucks.
Sure.
That one didn't land. You know, work on that some more. You know, what's that one comedian? Now he does all of the Allspice commercials. I think it's Dion something, where his big shtick was he'd say a joke.
Oh, yeah.
And he'd pull up the notebook and be like, that one didn't work.
Right.
I used to love that joke. Oh man, I haven't seen one of his in a long time because he got a little bit too big for
Bridges.
No, just for the small shows, and that's where he was being displayed a lot, was the smaller shows.
The problem is he
went more Hollywood.
That was his big shtick. You know, for his comedy.
Yeah.
Only do that for so long. There's a half-life to that type of
Dimitri Martin.
Yeah.
Only so many graphs and pie charts and junk until people are like, I don't think so.
Yeah, okay, we're done here.
Yeah,
it was funny when you did it, but yeah.
But no, I mean, overall, let's close it out. Well, no, hold on. Did you have anything you wanted to say on with Chappelle before we start to close it out? Just we've been going on for a while.
I will compare Chappelle to Michael Jackson in that way, where not in what he did, but in the art, because he had some comments about Michael Jackson too, which is funny.
Oh yeah,
but
some funny comments.
Just in terms of like the cancel part of it, right? Yeah. Or in that like separating art from artist. Chappelle's so good, and he's such a genius in what he does, that those comments, even it's within his art. It's not anything that he did personally, right? Outside of off the stage, that you're like, oh, I didn't know that he put cigarettes out on babies. You know what I mean? Like whatever the terrible thing that, you can think of that someone would have done. Right? Like
he's always smoking.
Always smoking. Baby. So he makes him follow him around and just puts,
That was him pushing in the soft spot to make an ashtray.
Oh, nah. That's bad. That's really bad. Oh, give me another baby. This one's not moving. So, yeah.
Oh, this one's starting to smell.
But it's like...
But see, these are the kind of things that certain people could get seriously offended by those types of just stupid jokes.
Right. Well, those were the James Gunn-like tweets that could get us
But
canceled.
Here's the difference. In every one of these situations, the people are famous.
Yeah.
It's the only reason why it matters.
Well, you hear about it.
Because people get
fired
jealous.
for all types of reasons.
Right. But how does it usually come into effect that somebody gets fired for something non-sexual harassment type style? I'm not talking about those. Usually more of a, like, so-and-so said a joke that I didn't feel was cool. Usually from somebody that...
I can think of an example, but yeah.
We can't talk about those.
Nope.
But usually from somebody who just doesn't like the other person.
Yeah.
And starts digging.
Sure.
And then maybe picks up the phone and starts calling other people. And, all of a sudden you guys got a little fun side job. Well, let's find the dirt on so-and-so and get them fired.
I think the problem is if you're digging and it's something from 10 years ago versus someone's actively continuing to exude a certain behavior. And I think that's where the problem is. It's like, all right, you can't go after someone if they're not currently that same person. Yeah. Like, just how can you?
It's not fair, but it happens.
I think there are varying degrees of that.
Yeah.
If a crime is committed versus they said a thing that offended me.
If a crime is committed and statute of limitations haven't exceeded.
There's what's right and there's what's legal.
I agree. I'm talking about from the legal aspect.
Sure.
From the right aspect, I mean, that's why you don't hit with this open hand.
But a Kevin Spacey versus James Gunn. James Gunn said controversial tweets that were like
stupid stuff
in bad taste, but that's not him being guilty of a crime.
But he didn't physically do any of those.
Kevin Spacey, that's illegal what he did.
Yeah. No, and I think that's the difference.
Right.
Is that
illegal and immoral if you can want to count that. So
talking about doing bad things and doing bad things should not be held to the same standard.
Nope, never.
But unfortunately, in our current time frame, talking about bad things almost is worse than actually doing bad things.
Right.
Because if you do the bad things, then it's like, oh, well, it's probably because they had a rough childhood. Let's help fix them. But just talking about bad things, oh, you're a horrible human being. You're the problem. And it's like, but he's the rapist.
Right.
Like,
I just made a joke about it. Right.
well, he was abused sexually by his father. What does that have to do with that? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's a weird world, man.
Yeah.
So
going down the deep on that one.
Yeah, it's just fun. Yeah. Anywho, so thanks for listening.
Well, to sum it up, I think we both agree that you can 100% separate art from artist.
Yes.
But it's very individual.
It needs to be an individual choice. Here's what I would say, and it's the biggest cop-out sounding thing, but it's truly what I believe. Everybody has the right to make their own decision on who they want to separate the art from and who they don't. It doesn't always have to be the same answer in every situation for the same person. But realize that if you start to try to judge somebody else for their individual choice, you're the problem.
I think when you turn it,
that's the problem.
Right, the smear campaigns where it's like there's an agenda to destroy someone.
Yes.
Versus, because then those things gain momentum because people just want to be part of something that's going to mean something, right? So they're going to join that. Versus just, hey, just don't go buy their CD, or hey, just don't go see their movie. Like, boycott it, but like, you don't need to sit there and pick it and join a movement and do a hashtag, like do the whole thing. And it's like,
because also I feel like there's also one more little stupid thing I'll put out there is one of the, I read at least like 30 or 40 different articles today about this as well, because I really wanted to like get some other people's opinions on it. And one of the biggest things they talk about with music is that when you're listening to a piece of music, and they actually use the phrase streaming because that's what we do nowadays, right?
Yeah.
When you're streaming a piece of music, you are then supporting that artist because you're paying for them.
Sure.
But here's the thing they forget about. I own Michael Jackson's greatest hits that I bought 20 years ago. I'm no longer supporting him or his family or his estate or whatever. Does that mean that because I own it now and the damage has already been done, that now I can just listen to it as much as I want because I'm no longer supporting him financially? Where's the loophole? If you have a loophole involved in that, if I
that's on your agenda.
Right, but if I watch my copy of The Patriot, am I being like, yeah, Mel Gibson? Or am I going in memory of Heath Ledger? Which one am I doing?
I think you're trying to make America great again.
Wow.
Patriot. And I think he was too.
I probably should have went
Bad
with
example.
like Forever Young. Like, am I a Jamie Lee Curtis fan?
He was a fighter pilot. Yeah. Very patriotic.
He was a test pilot.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that too.
Oh my gosh. Fine. Braveheart?
But that is a good segue, maybe, because coming up,
listening,
we are going to be talking about time travel.
That is correct. Which is what Forever Young is kind of about.
Sort of.
Not really. It's a quasi.
It's a time thing.
It's like Demolition Man type little bit. Yeah. But anyway, if you enjoyed listening to us ramble about our opinions on this, make sure you check us out on YouTube and anywhere that you can listen to podcasts about other topics. Some of the more recent ones that we've done have been on like fast food. We did one on space. It wasn't that good. We've done some other ones too. You know, been like pretty decent. I think one of our all-time favorite ones from people has been Expectations of a Father.
Interesting. Yeah.
Which, you know, it's pretty good. I liked it. I said what I said. But also check out our other stuff. We have some screen discussions on the YouTube channel as well as some other stuff. And
you can follow Mike on Grindr.
I mean, follow is such a strong word. Meet up with? I don't know. Oh man, I was about to make a really good joke, but it was so wrong.
Don't do it.
Oh, it's not worth it.
Not good, dude.
So, yeah, but join us next week when we are talking about time travel, or will it be last week? Ooh. Okay, cool. Bye.